Alright, buckle up folks, because today we're diving into the most what the heck did I just watch moments from Rick and Morty. The legendary, the disturbing, the downright Cronenberg-infested fever dream that is Rick Potion number 9. That's right, it's the episode where Morty learns that asking Rick for help is like lighting yourself on fire to stay warm.
Why can't you just help me out once for once?
It's technically a solution, but it's also gonna ruin everything. Let's get into it. So Morty's got a huge crush on Jessica. Standard teenage stuff, right? But instead of, talking to her like a normal person.
Hey, Jessica,
Morty runs to Rick, the interdimensional chaos factory. Rick.
Hey, listen, Rick, could you make some sort of chemical thing happen inside of Jessica's mind? So where she falls in love with me and all that sort of thing?
Being the kind-hearted grandpa he definitely isn't.
That makes it fall in love. All right, Morty, I just gotta combine it with some of your DNA. Oh, well, okay.
Cooks up a love potion. A little Vol DNA here, some science mumbo-jumbo there, and boom! Jessica will be head over heels.
I need one of your hairs. This isn't Game of Thrones. Ow! All right, Morty, whoever you smear this stuff on will fall in love with you. And only you, forever. Are you happy now, Morty?
What could possibly go wrong? Oh, everything. Because Jessica happens to have the flu. And thanks to Rick's flawless scientific planning, the love potion spreads faster than your ex's bad tweets. At first, it's just Jessica batting her eyes at Morty, calling him her soulmate. Cute, right?
I love you so much it burns.
But then, everyone at the school dance starts going full Romeo and Juliet mode. And when I say everyone, I mean the entire town.
That might have been valuable information for me, Morty. What the hell is going on, Rick?
Suddenly, Morty's gone from hopeless romantic to public enemy number 1. And what does Rick say? Meh, I'll fix it.
It's gonna be fine, Morty, relax. I whipped up an antidote. It's based on praying mantis DNA.
Rick's fix turns out to be the scientific equivalent of throwing gasoline on a bonfire. He adds a little mantis DNA to the antidote, and now, everyone's mutating into Cronenberg monsters. And when I say Cronenberg monsters, I mean these things look like if your worst nightmares went on steroids. People are flopping around. Limbs are in places they shouldn't be. And Morty's like, Rick, what do we do? And Rick's already cracking open a beer, like he's watching a football game. Absolute chaos.
Here, Morty, put this on while I do a little bit of scouting.
But here's the kicker. Instead of taking responsibility or doing literally anything helpful, Rick decides, let's just abandon ship.
We got 1 screw turn, and 2 screw turns, and...
That's right. They straight up leave the universe. They jump to an alternate dimension, where their counterparts just conveniently died.
What is going on, Rick? I'm freaking out! Calm down, Morty. Look at me. Calm down, Morty.
No, I can't do it.
So now, Rick and Morty just slide right into their new life, like nothing happened. Morty even buries his own body in the backyard. Let me say that again. This poor kid buries his own dead body. If that's not therapy material, I don't know what is. And what about the original dimension? Oh, that's a write-off. The Cronenberg universe is now a mutated wasteland, and Rick's family is stuck there, living in a horror movie.
Dad, Summer!
But does Rick care? Not even a little. He's already moved on, telling Morty to do the same.
Come on, Morty, luck had nothing to do with it. I'm great. That's the real reason.
You gotta love how Rick's solution to everything is just, meh. That's someone else's problem now. Rick Potion number 9 is the perfect mix of dark comedy, emotional trauma, and straight-up nightmare fuel. It's one of those episodes that makes you laugh, and then immediately question your life choices. Morty just wanted Jessica to like him.
You don't bring dead babies to Paso.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Jessica?
But instead, he got Cronenberg monsters. Emotional baggage.
Take me to Morty. You're not Morty.
Where is Morty?
And a shovel to bury his alternate self. If that's not the most Rick and Morty thing ever, I don't know what is.
Now help me with these bodies. This is insane. Look, Morty, I'll grab myself, you grab yourself, okay? I mean, that seems fair to me.
So there you have it. One simple love potion gone completely off the rails, proving, once again, that Rick is the last person you should ever ask for help. Alright, so we're diving back into the disaster zone that is Rick and Jerry's relationship. This time, Rick decides to take Jerry on a guy's trip to patch things up.
This is a real situation where Jerry could really shine. He's a master convincer.
Or, more realistically, to traumatize him for fun. Because, let's be honest, this is Rick. Therapy is for people who don't have spaceships and zero morals. Cut to Jerry, sulking in his depressing little bachelor pad. Rick shows up.
We gotta go. You gotta come with me, Jerry. Pants, Jerry. I'll make you a pair of pants on the way.
Probably out of boredom more than compassion, and invites him on an intergalactic getaway. Jerry says yes because what else is he gonna do? Read self-help books? Next thing you know, they're at some bougie alien resort with a literal immortality field.
Dangerous.
Rick Sanchez. I told you if I ever saw your face in here again, I would stick you like the pig you are.
Nothing can kill you here. Zero pain, zero consequences. Perfect for Rick. For Jerry, not so much. Because the guy can't even enjoy invincibility without finding a way to ruin it.
Someone? Someone?
My friend, it has been too
It's great
long.
to see you again, buddy.
So Rick's off partying, throwing back drinks, and roasting Jerry for existing. Jerry's just sitting there, marinating in his insecurity, when BAM! A mysterious alien sidles up and drops a wild proposition. How about we kill Rick?
And you have wondered what your life could have been without Rick?
Wondered? Sure. I mean, I've wondered about having a vagina.
Would you help me kill him? There is a popular attraction here called the Whirly-Durly.
And Jerry? Jerry doesn't shut it down. Nope. He actually considers it. The guy has spent so much time in Rick's shadow, he jumps at the first chance to feel important. So now, Jerry's officially in on a murder plot, because that's definitely gonna go well. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Summer is going through a major post-breakup crisis. She's been dumped, she's feeling insecure, and her solution? Oh, just casually turning herself into a giant mutant monster to impress her ex. Totally healthy coping mechanism.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, come on! Oh, jeez! Stop!
Morty, bless his soul, is just trying to hold it together, while their mom spirals into wine and regret territory. But back to Jerry, because this is where things really start popping off. Jerry lures Rick into a trap under the guise of bonding. Classic. The immortality field gets sabotaged, and suddenly Rick isn't untouchable anymore. The assassins swoop in, weapons blazing, and Jerry's standing there like, oh no, what have I done? Dude, you know exactly what you've done.
Rick, up here. There's a spot where you can kill him.
Good call, Jerry. Hey, how'd you know about that?
But here's the thing about Rick. He's been on to Jerry the whole time. This man could smell betrayal from light years away. So instead of panicking, Rick goes full action hero. Explosions, gadgets, the works. It's like Die Hard, but with more aliens and zero regard for collateral damage. And then comes the wormhole scene. Rick and Jerry, dangling over the abyss, literally holding on to each other for survival. It's the kind of moment that could be deep and meaningful. Except it's Jerry, so of course it's not. Rick saves them both, because Rick's always got a plan. That's a burn you can't cure with an immortality field. But before we can process that emotional gut punch, more assassins show up, and it's back to pure chaos.
How did you know about it?
We had a deal, Jerry Smith.
Rick and Jerry barely escape, crashing back to Earth like nothing happened. Jerry's still useless, Rick's still Rick, and you just know they're both gonna pretend none of it ever went down.
I'll make you a deal. I'll leave out the part where you tried to murder me.
And I'll leave out the part where you admitted to sabotaging our marriage.
Meanwhile, Morty finally talks Summer out of her mutant monster phase. Barely. She's still a walking disaster, but hey, at least she's not a giant walking disaster anymore. Progress? By the end of the episode, we're left with one undeniable truth. Nobody learns anything. Jerry goes back to being a sad sack, Rick goes back to being a nihilistic genius, and Morty? Morty probably wishes he'd stayed in bed. This episode is pure dysfunction from start to finish. It's hilarious, it's messy, and it's a brutal reminder that in the world of Rick and Morty, nobody gets a happy ending, especially Jerry. So we pick up where the chaos really starts. Rick and Morty are on a mission to sell a gun to Krombopulos Michael, an alien assassin with way too much enthusiasm for his job. Seriously.
You're gonna be free to go on all kinds of errands for me. Cool.
This guy talks about murder like it's a hobby. He's like, oh boy, I can't wait to kill someone today.
Listen, if you ever need anybody murdered, please give me a call.
The guy's downright cheerful about it. Rick's all business though. He makes the sale, pockets the cash, and is ready to move on. But Morty? Oh no.
You sold a gun to a murderer so you could play video games?
Morty has to have a conscience. He's horrified that Rick would arm someone like Krombopulos Michael. And instead of just letting it go, Morty decides to follow him. This is where things go from bad to Morty-level bad. Krombopulos Michael is on his way to kill a mysterious telepathic gas cloud. Rick calls it a job well done and starts heading back to the ship, but Morty?
You have arrived at Krombopulos Michael.
Morty's too busy playing Space Batman. He sneaks into the building, interrupts the assassination, and saves the gas cloud's life.
He saved my life.
What? Because, that's always worked out for him in the past.
My kind has no use for names.
And then comes the big reveal. This isn't just any gas cloud. Oh no, this thing has telepathic powers, an otherworldly voice.
I wonder why Greg is always so critical of my girlfriend.
Well, he'd probably like to have me to himself.
Or does he want her to himself?
And about universal peace and love. Morty, being Morty, immediately names it Fart, because why wouldn't you?
I like this name, Fart. Morty.
Rick is, understandably, furious. He's like, Morty, do you have any idea what you've just done?
I want to go back to Blitz and Chance. I don't want to deal with this.
Rick, you've been clear on the fact that you don't want to help.
Screw this.
But Morty's too busy bonding with Fart to care.
Rick, we're taking him back where he belongs.
Oh yeah, where's that? Are you going on a quest to find he who smelt it?
He's convinced that saving Fart was the right thing to do, even as the entire Galactic Federation starts hunting them down. First, they try to escape through the city. Rick's throwing out gadgets left and right, exploding robots, laser shields, the whole 9 yards. Meanwhile, Morty's just running around holding Fart like it's his pet goldfish. 2. Then they end up in a seedy alien lounge. And this is where things get really weird. Fart decides it's time for a musical number.
The world can be one together, cosmos without hatred.
Yep, a full-on psychedelic performance about the wonders of the universe. And honestly, it's a bop. But while Fart is singing, Rick is getting more and more done with the whole situation.
Shut the fuck up about Moon Men! This isn't a musical number. This is a fucking operation. We gotta be cool and fucking lay low.
You can see it on his face. He's like, this is what my life has come to. Babysitting a gas cloud and my idiot grandson. After the song, they manage to escape. Barely. They're being chased by space cops, bounty hunters, and who knows what else. Rick is dodging lasers. Morty's holding on to Fart for dear life, and the collateral damage is off the charts. I'm talking explosions, car crashes, buildings collapsing. It's total mayhem. And then, just when you think it can't get any worse, it does.
Alright, let's proceed.
Fart drops a bombshell. It's not just a harmless space cloud. Nope. This thing is part of a hive mind that wants to eradicate all carbon-based life forms. Morty thought he was saving an innocent life, but instead, he's unleashed a potential galaxy destroyer.
I'm gonna miss you, Fart. I'm really sorry your name became Fart.
And Rick's just sitting there like, I told you so. But here's the kicker. To stop Fart, Morty has to make a choice. A real choice. He can let Fart go and risk the destruction of entire civilizations, or he can kill it. And for once, Morty actually makes the tough call. He kills Fart.
Morty, why? Why?
It's a brutal moment. Morty's been trying so hard to do the right thing, and it all ends with him pulling the trigger on the very life he risked everything to save. You can see it in his eyes. He's crushed. And Rick doesn't even blink. He's like, yep, that's life, kid. Now let's get out of here. It's such a perfect representation of their dynamic. Morty's idealism gets him into trouble, and Rick's cynicism gets them out. But at what cost? Meanwhile, let's not forget about Jerry. Back at the Jerry Boree, our favorite sad sack is living his best life, or at least his version of it. The place is filled with Jerrys from alternate dimensions, all hanging out together in one big, pathetic support group.
Don't you feel a little patronized? How so?
Jerry!
Beth. Oh, come on. This is ridiculous.
I love you, Jerry!
Aw, Beth.
It's both hilarious and kind of depressing. And honestly, it's the perfect metaphor for Jerry's character.
Duck, duck, birdie. That is very funny.
He's so unremarkable that there's literally an entire daycare designed to manage his mediocrity. By the time Rick and Morty come back to pick him up, Jerry's almost sad to leave. And who can blame him? Jerry Boree is probably the only place in the universe where he's not the biggest failure in the room.
I can't believe Rick did this. This is the 8th to the last straw. Ante up. You know what? Screw it. I have a better gamble for you guys.
So how does this episode stack up? Well, it's Rick and Morty at its finest, dark, chaotic, and full of moral dilemmas. On the surface, it's a story about a rescue mission gone wrong. But dig a little deeper, and it's a commentary on how good intentions can lead to disastrous consequences.
Morty, would you kindly release me by pulling that lever to the left of my cell?
Morty, don't do it.
Morty's heart was in the right place, but his actions almost wiped out entire civilizations. And Rick? Well, he's Rick. Cynical, pragmatic, and always one step ahead. He might be a terrible influence.
You're supposed to be my friend!
Friend? Do you even know my real name?
But in this case, he's not exactly wrong. Morty Night Run is the kind of episode that sticks with you. It's funny, it's tragic, and it's a reminder that in the Rick and Morty universe,
Goodbye.
there's no such thing as a happy ending, folks. It's time to dive into the psychological nightmare that is the ABCs of Beth. This one's got everything. Repressed trauma, killer imaginary friends, and Beth being, well, disturbingly like Rick.
You know the son that he ate was
Your best friend Tommy. We know. Stop true crime bragging.
I was traumatized, Summer.
Where Beth learns her childhood friend Tommy went missing in the creepy, magical world her dad built for her. Yeah, that's right.
That river is a rainbow, literally. Come on, I put real elbow grease into this place.
You're supposed to put elbow grease into your daughter.
Rick made a literal fantasy land called Froopy Land for Beth as a kid, because when your dad's a genius sociopath, playing in the backyard just doesn't cut it.
What kind of merciless creator makes the ground bouncy? I'm gonna have to drown myself.
But Froopy Land isn't all candy-colored rainbows and whimsical nonsense. Turns out, Tommy didn't just get lost. He's been living there for decades, and not in a fun Tarzan of the Sugar Forest kind of way. Oh no, Tommy went full survival mode, and let's just say his methods are questionable.
All right, everybody. Next item on the docket. I would like to have sex with some of you and then eat the babies.
Meanwhile, Rick and Beth head back to Froopy Land to fix the problem. By fix, I mean they're going to dig up every horrifying thing about Beth's childhood and throw gasoline on it. Because that's how Rick does parenting, that's all. Why didn't you just supervise me like a normal dad? And Rick's like, supervision is for people without interdimensional travel. And then it happens.
You're supposed to put elbow grease into your daughter.
Gross.
Do you think something ate him?
Beth starts to remember just how twisted her childhood really was. Froopy Land wasn't some magical escape. It was a prison designed to contain her, because little Beth wasn't just imaginative. She was dangerous. Like, casually plotting the death of her friends dangerous. While Rick and Beth are busy unpacking her daddy issues, Morty and Summer get roped into Jerry's latest sad attempt at a love life. He's dating Kiara.
Morty, Summer, this is Kiara. She's a Crutabulon warrior priestess from Crutabulon.
An alien warrior who's way out of his league, both physically and emotionally. Of course, Jerry being Jerry, he screws it up in record time, and Kiara ends up threatening to destroy the entire family because nothing says healthy relationship like interstellar murder. Back in Froopy Land, things are escalating. Rick's trying to fix the portal to get them out, while Beth decides to confront Tommy.
Well, hello, all. I am the king of Froopy Land, but I go by another name, too.
We know.
We know.
We know.
And oh boy, is Tommy not okay. He's built an entire civilization of Froopy creatures. Let's just say his methods would get him banned from any biology class forever. It's weird, it's gross, and it's peak Rick and Morty. Beth decides she's going to save Tommy, mostly to prove she's not as heartless as Rick. But let's be real, she's already crossed the line.
We have to get Tommy out of there, okay? We need to do the right thing. Do what you never did as a dad.
She starts embracing her inner Rick, manipulating Froopy Land creatures, making dark choices, and generally being terrifying. Rick's watching this all go down like, that's my girl! Which, you know, isn't exactly a compliment. In the end, Beth decides she's better off leaving Tommy to his weird Froopy existence.
If you were to make a clone of Tommy, what would you need to get started?
I don't know. Tommy's DNA?
Okay.
Rick casually clones a version of Tommy to send back to his parents, because ethics are for losers. The whole thing wraps up with Beth realizing she might actually be just as messed up as her dad. And you know what? She's kind of okay with that. The episode leaves us with one big, unsettling question. Is Beth going to follow in Rick's footsteps? Or worse, has she already? This one's a wild ride of emotional damage, existential dread, and candy-colored horror. It's funny, it's dark, and it's a brutal reminder that in the Smith family, normal isn't even an option. All right, strap in, because this time we're diving into an episode that asks the big question. What if you could just yeet all your toxic traits into another dimension? Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well.
Complementary psychological detox removes all your cognitive toxins, purifies your system.
It all starts with Rick and Morty finishing up a 6-day bender of non-stop adventures. They're burnt out, covered in alien goo.
Steady, goddammit, 2 Cetons!
So naturally, Rick drags Morty to an intergalactic day spa.
Everybody fuck off. Morty, I need your help. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Because nothing screams self-care like alien technology that probably won't kill you. And here's the pitch. The spa offers to detoxify them by removing all their negative traits.
Removes all your cognitive toxins, purifies your system.
Sounds great, right? Except come on, it's Rick. When has any of his plans ever worked out?
Oh, this guy on commission or something? I don't think... Are you on commission?
So, they step into the machine, and boom! Out come their toxic versions. Like the worst parts of their personalities cranked up to 11.
Morty! Rick! Morty!
Toxic Rick, pure egomaniac with zero self-control. Toxic Morty, an anxious, self-loathing mess. These guys are basically walking disasters, and they get dumped in some weird toxic waste dimension where they can stew in their awfulness.
I'm a genius. I don't have time for this shit. We're in hell, aren't we, Rick?
Meanwhile, Clean Rick and Clean Morty step out of the machine, and wow.
Hey man, listen, those comments I made about your throat,
it's all good.
It's nice of you to let me off the hook.
It's unsettling. Rick's polite, calm, even kind. Morty's confident, smooth, and suddenly has the social skills of a Hollywood A-lister. It's like watching a bizarro version of them that just doesn't feel right.
I'm not alone anymore!
Hey, Morty.
Morty immediately starts thriving in his new persona. He asks out Jessica, and get this, she says yes.
Bad case of haven't taken you to dinner-itis. Might be fatal.
They go on a date, he's charming, everything's going great, except for one tiny detail. This isn't Morty, this is Clean Morty, who's basically a walking self-help book.
I'm not alone anymore!
Meanwhile, Clean Rick is acting weird, like unsettlingly functional. He's building stuff without blowing it up, being respectful to strangers.
Hey kids, hope I'm not interrupting. Morty, a moment of your time?
It's horrifying, and you just know it's not gonna last. Cut to the toxic versions, and oh boy, they're not taking this whole banishment thing lying down.
I don't want to be on camera. I'm ugly and gross, please.
Toxic Rick hatches a plan to escape. Because of course he does. You can't keep a mad scientist down, even if he's literally a puddle of bad vibes. Back in the real world, Clean Morty's newfound confidence starts snowballing. He's making moves, living his best life, and totally forgetting about the giant toxic mess brewing in another dimension.
Recently single, not looking to date, but ready to fall in love, and fate has put her locker. Heinholz Biotech, $1.5 million at 33.
Classic Morty move. Out of sight, out of mind. But then Toxic Rick shows up.
Haha, yes! That idiot believed every word. Now let's see how he enjoys living in that shit tank.
And we get a showdown between the two Ricks. Clean Rick's like, I don't need you, I'm better without you. And Toxic Rick's like, buddy, I am you. It's deep, it's messy, and it's exactly what you'd expect from Rick Sanchez. Eventually, the toxic versions manage to merge back with the clean versions, and everything goes back to normal. Except, what even is normal for these two? Rick immediately starts drinking again. Morty goes back to being awkward and self-conscious.
So, how do you feel, Morty?
Oh, jeez, I'm miserable.
And the whole spa trip feels like a fever dream that accomplished nothing.
Can't keep the drones. They turn into a little Voltron robot. They're awesome.
But here's the kicker. In a rare moment of introspection, Rick actually admits that maybe, just maybe, they need their toxic traits to survive. Because without them, they're not really themselves. It's a brutal truth, but hey, that's life in the Rick and Morty universe. So what's the takeaway here? Maybe self-improvement isn't about purging your flaws. Maybe it's about learning to live with them. Or, maybe it's just another excuse for Rick to blow something up. Either way, this episode is a masterclass in chaos, dysfunction, and the existential dread of trying to be a better person. And Morty?
So how was your date with Brad? It wasn't a date. We were just having lunch.
Poor guy just wanted to impress Jessica.
Morty, I need your help on an adventure. Need is a strong word. We need doorstops, but a brick would work too.
Instead, he got dragged through yet another whirlwind of self-destruction, identity crises, and moral gray areas. Just another Tuesday in the Rick and Morty universe.
Good to have you back.
Alright folks, strap in, because we're kicking off season 4 with a bang. Literally, Rick's back, Morty's making terrible life choices, and somehow, it's all about death crystals and alternate futures. Let's dive into the madness that is Edge of Tomorty. Rick die, Rick Pete. So we start with Rick and Morty heading out on a routine crystal heist. Just a little grand larceny to spice up their Wednesday.
Morty, would you please accompany me to Forbodulon Prime for death crystals?
Well, thank you for asking.
They swipe a stash of death crystals, super fancy rocks that show you how you're gonna die if you hold them. Morty grabs one, takes a peek, and sees a future where he dies peacefully, with Jessica whispering sweet nothings to him.
And I like to spend my life with their money.
Oh my God. Jessica. Oh.
For Morty, that's it. Game over. This death crystal is now his personal GPS to true love. Rick, on the other hand, couldn't care less about Morty's rom-com daydreams. But when Morty's obsession with following the crystal causes their ship to crash, and Rick to, die, things get spicy.
Wait a minute, what? Morty, do you have a death crystal in your pocket? No, maybe. Stop driving! Oh, son of a bitch! Give me the wheel, Morty! God damn it!
But wait! It's Rick! He's got a failsafe for this exact situation. His consciousness gets uploaded into a clone body, ready to spring back into action.
Grab the gun with the blue handle from the trunk and get a tissue sample from the corpse.
Think shrimp fascists, teddy bear fascists, and, wasp fascists. Morty's going full-on death crystal psycho. He refuses to revive Rick because the crystal says it'll mess up his perfect Jessica ending.
Got to go! Don't get out of my face! I'm gonna flush Rick's DNA! Alright. Okay, regroup everybody.
Instead, he starts following the crystal's every hint like a demented magic 8-ball. And let's be honest, it's terrifying. Morty becomes this silent, dead-eyed wrecking ball. Taking out cops, criminals, and anyone who stands in his way, all while muttering nonsense like, "Follow the crystal, stay on the path."
What the hell?
He even manages to summon Akira-level power, turning into a giant energy blob that threatens to destroy everything. And Jessica? She's got no idea any of this is happening. She's just chilling at school, probably wondering why Morty's been extra weird lately.
Cool. Sounds hot. Bye.
Must continue move.
Meanwhile, Rick's adventures through fascist dimensions are somehow getting even worse. It change. Each clone body he wakes up in has its own horrifying twist.
Hell... Wasp Hitler? What? What the fuck? Where's that shit coming from?
And just when he's about to give up, he ends up in the Wasp dimension, where, get this, the Wasp versions of Rick and his family are actually nice.
My friends want to fly around and look for something to sting tonight.
You be careful not to waste all your venom.
I'm not a bee, Dad.
Like, disturbingly functional. They help him get back to his own dimension, proving once again that the multiverse makes no sense.
Wasp! Where the hell didn't you show Morty how to bring my body back to life? Don't tell me you gained sentience and tried to take over.
Back on Earth, Morty's rampage is spiraling out of control. Rick shows up just in time to save the day.
You're fucked now, I told you! Get him, Rick!
Well, sort of. He and Wasp Rick take on Morty's energy blob form in a battle that's equal parts epic and ridiculous. At one point, Wasp Rick eats a guy alive. Because, wasps. It's gross, it's horrifying, and it's absolutely hilarious. Eventually, Rick forces Morty to snap out of it, and the two of them manage to destroy the death crystal. Morty realizes, shocker,
I can't see my own death! How am I gonna die?
that maybe obsessing over how he's going to die isn't the healthiest life choice. Rick, being Rick, brushes the whole thing off like it's just another Tuesday. The episode ends with a classic Rick and Morty moment. No lessons learned, no personal growth, just two idiots heading off for their next adventure.
He turned himself into Akira.
Oh, I'll eat it, because this is my house, Rick. I'll eat any ass I want.
And Jessica? Turns out she wants to be a hospice worker, which makes Morty's dream of dying with her a lot less romantic and a lot more awkward.
I want to comfort the people who are dying, who have no one else in their lives. The real lonely people.
So, what's the takeaway here? Death crystals are bad news, fascist dimensions are somehow even worse, and Morty really needs to chill. This episode is pure Rick and Morty chaos at its finest. Dark, hilarious, and just a little bit existential.
Spider's fine, yeah, I'm in. Wasn't my first pitch, but hey, not gonna waste this opportunity.
So let's dive into Rick-ternal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort episode that trades chaos for introspection and gives us a deep dive into Rick's shattered soul. It's emotional, it's weird, and it's Rick Sanchez at his most vulnerable. The episode kicks off with a rare sight, Rick going solo. Morty's out of the picture, Beth and Jerry are on vacation, and Summer's doing whatever Summer does. Rick's left with only his AI assistant to keep him company.
Ionic coaster deployed.
Which means it's time for some good old-fashioned sci-fi shenanigans. But instead of hitting up another adventure, Rick decides to revive an old friendship. Literally. Enter Bird Person. Or rather, Phoenix Person. But once noble warrior has been reduced to a mindless, robotic husk. Thanks to Tammy and the Galactic Federation. Rick's plan? Break into Bird Person's subconscious and bring back his old pal. Because if there's one thing Rick doesn't do well, it's letting go. Inside Bird Person's mind, things get trippy fast.
For sure, I'd have to be naked to go through something this artsy.
Rick is navigating a fragmented dreamscape filled with memories of their friendship, battles, and, of course, Bird Person's betrayal. It's part buddy cop movie, part therapy session, and all around a recipe for disaster. As Rick journeys deeper, we see flashes of his past that he'd rather keep buried, like his younger self, desperately trying to convince Bird Person to stick with him.
Bird Person! It's me. Actual me, not a memory. I am aware.
It's raw, it's painful, and it's a reminder that beneath all the nihilism and one-liners, Rick is desperately lonely. Meanwhile, Bird Person's memories reveal some hard truths. Turns out, Bird Person never fully trusted Rick.
It's funny. I always wondered who would win if we ever fought. Then you were always a bad friend.
Not because Rick wasn't loyal, but because Rick's loyalty is exhausting. Their friendship has always been a one-sided mess.
Rick, have you teamed up with a memory of yourself? I ask because that would be deeply sad.
With Rick pouring everything into it, while Bird Person quietly resented him for it. But the real gut punch comes when Rick stumbles upon a hidden memory Bird Person has locked away. In it, Bird Person reveals that he had a child with Tammy. And here's the kicker. Rick knew.
Are you gonna tell him or what? I was getting to it. I bet she didn't even tell you about the kid.
About the
He knew the entire time and didn't say a word. It's a moment that hits like a freight train, forcing Rick to confront just how much of a mess he's made. Not just for himself, but for everyone around him. Despite all the emotional baggage, Rick manages to reboot Bird Person's consciousness and bring him back to reality.
Holy sh! Wow. Holy sh! We almost didn't make it. Jesus f***, that was close. That was insane.
Their reunion is awkward and bittersweet, with Bird Person acknowledging the messiness of their friendship, but ultimately deciding to leave Rick behind. Because sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is walk away.
Fair enough.
I will see you when I see you.
The episode ends with Rick sitting alone in his garage, staring at the empty spaces left by the people he's lost. It's one of those rare moments where the show lets the humor take a back seat, giving us a raw look at the cost of being Rick Sanchez. So, what's the takeaway here? Rick may be a genius, but he's also his own worst enemy. He can invent a million gadgets, travel to infinite dimensions, and even bring people back from the dead. But he can't fix himself. This episode is a gut-wrenching, introspective journey that reminds us why Rick and Morty is so much more than just a comedy. Alright, buckle up, because we're diving into A Rick Convenient Mort, the episode where Morty finds love, Rick gets wasted, and everything spirals out of control. It kicks off with an eco-apocalypse. Acid rain is melting the planet, and who shows up to save the day? Planetina, a superhero powered by elemental rings and her group of human controllers. Morty instantly falls head over heels for her.
Surprise!
What are you doing here?
I told my kids I went out to recycle batteries.
She's smart, beautiful, and an environmentalist, but things get dark fast. Love makes you do wild things, huh?
And who's your friend over there?
Oh, this is Morty Smith. He traveled 200 miles just to save a rabbit from the fire.
Meanwhile, Rick and Summer ditch Morty's drama for a galaxy-wide party spree. Rick's chasing alien hookups, and Summer's out to embrace total chaos. It's toxic bonding at its finest and worst.
Hello. I'm Rick. Hey, so the world's ending, and for some reason I want to die with you more than anyone else.
Back to Morty. He's all in with Planetina, but her kids, the ring bearers who created her, aren't thrilled about her dating a teenager. Morty doesn't take it lightly.
She's a brilliant living thing and I love her.
Oh, you love her? Well, guess what? We own her.
He steals the rings, freeing Planetina from their control. But freedom has a price. Without limits, Planetina goes rogue, torching entire towns in the name of saving the planet.
There's only one solution for Earth pollution!
Morty realizes his love for her doesn't outweigh her terrifying morality. Meanwhile, Rick and Summer's partying peaks when Summer sabotages Rick's alien fling. Rick, in turn, hooks up with everything, including a sentient gas cloud. It's chaotic, messy, and classic Rick.
Love's pretty fun, Summer. Give it a chance.
It's not even real love.
The episode climaxes with Morty breaking up with Planetina. She refuses to let go, and their fight ends with Morty kicking her out, devastated, heartbroken, and sobbing.
Please go. I can't see you anymore.
Don't you even want to try to make it work?
The episode wraps up with Rick and Summer stumbling home, hungover and regretful, while Morty sits alone in his room, shattered. And that's A Rick Convenient Mort, an emotional roller coaster of love, chaos, and existential dread. Morty learns that sometimes love just isn't enough. Rick and Summer prove that partying doesn't solve your problems, and we're left with the timeless Rick and Morty truth. Nothing ever ends neatly. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to stick around for more wild adventures from the multiverse. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Stay swifty.